Happy Weapon Wednesday!
Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we've got the Gegate dagger with scabbard from Ducac. Named after the Battle of Gegate in 1513, this weapon was supposedly carried by Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian. This fully functional dagger comes in at 17.6 inches, with an 11.6-inch EN45 high carbon steel blade and hilt made from polished brass and bone. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we've got the Gothic flanged mace from Cold Steel. This fully functional mace is a modern interpretation of a classic historical weapon of Germanic origins, with 6 flanges, profiled and tapered to help balance weight, and a shining black finish. Handmade from 1055 high carbon steel, this weapon comes in at a total of 28 inches, with a leather-wrapped handle coming in at 9 inches and weighs in at a little over 3 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we've got the Excalibur dagger from Darksword Armory. This fully functional dagger is a smaller recreation of the sword in the stone wielded by King Arthur from the 1981 film Excalibur. With a wire-wrapped handle and a blade made from 5160 high carbon steel, dual hardened and tempered to a Rockwell hardness of 53, this weapon comes in both sharpened and unsharpened versions. This dagger comes in at a total of 17 inches, with a blade length of 12 inches and weighs in at 1 pound. It also includes a matching leather scabbard. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we've got the Rosewood rondel dagger from Cold Steel. Inspired by historical examples, this fully functional dagger is ideal for piercing through gaps in armor or chainmail. With a hand-stitched leather sheath including a steel throat and shape, and a triple-edged hollow-ground blued blade made from 1065 high-carbon steel, and a hand-carved rosewood handle with brass pins and a period-accurate double dish guard, this blade comes in for an overall length of 16.5 inches, with a blade length of 11.5 inches and weighs in at 13.6 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the curved medieval crossbow from Ancient Armory as requested by @ThatWaywardSon on Instagram. This medieval crossbow is made of hardwood with a steel bow and comes with a single bolt. A little assembly is required, but we've got a tutorial for that on our YouTube channel. It has a hemp bowstring, stirrup, sight, and back-sight made of burnished metal. While this weapon does have moving parts, it is decorative and not intended to fire, but caution is still recommended when handling. It comes in at a total of 18.5 inches, with the width of 12.5 inches. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the authentic flail from Ritter Steel. This fully functional beast of a weapon is designed after historical styles based on archaeological finds around castles in Europe. How commonly they were used by knights is actually debated, as evidence of flails like this are mostly seen in 15th century artwork. This flail's handles are carved from seared wood, with chains, ball head, and spikes made from forged, cold-rolled steel with a blackened finish. This weapon has a handle length of 18.6 inches, with spike lengths of 2.5 inches, and comes in at a total of over 48 inches. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Danish dagger from Darksword Armory. Inspired by historical, you guessed it, Danish styles, this fully functional dagger has a hilt and scabbard made from wood, wrapped in leather, with a blade and pointed quillions that are hand-forged from 5160 high-carbon steel and tempered to a Rockwell hardness of 53 and feature a mirrored finish. Available in both sharpened and unsharpened versions, this weapon comes in at a total of 18 inches, with a blade length of 12 inches and weighs 1 pound. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Bastard Sword from the Kingston Arms line from Hanway. This is a fully functional bastard sword, or hand-and-a-half sword, a historical style of sword named so because it can be used as a 1- or 2-handed weapon. This sword has a leather-wrapped hilt and scabbard, with a blade made from 1566 high-carbon steel with an antiqued finish and ridged crossguard. This weapon comes in at an overall length of 51 inches, with a blade length of 39 inches and a total weight of over 3.5 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the 14th century Italian warhammer from Ducac. Perfect for denting armored opponents, warhammers were a popular choice on the battlefield in the 14th and 15th century, coinciding with the rise in popularity of plate armor. Inspired by historical Italian designs from that period, this fully functional warhammer is made from hardwood, with a leather-wrapped handle and a handcrafted hammerhead made from high carbon steel. This weapon has an overall length of 25 inches and a total weight of 1 pound 12 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Knight's Thrusting Dagger from the Ritter Steel line by Knight's Edge. This fully functional dagger takes inspiration from different historical styles, like the Italian cinquedea of the 15th and 16th century and Swiss bacillars of the 14th century. This dagger's blade is handmade, forged from tempered 1095 high-carbon steel, and has a hilt made from ebony wood with a solid brass pommel and guard and includes a matching leather sheath. This weapon has a blade length of 7.75 inches, with a blade width of 1.75 inches, and comes in for a total of 13 inches. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Swordbreaker dagger from the Ritter Steel line by Knight's Edge. While there are very rare instances of this weapon historically, a Swordbreaker dagger was a parrying dagger designed to catch an opponent's blade and, if you're lucky, break them. This fully functional dagger was designed with inspiration from these weapons, with a hand-forged blade made from high-carbon steel, a ring on either side of the crossguard, a wooden grip, and a matching leather scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 9.6 inches, with a blade width of 2 inches and comes in for a total of 15.75 inches. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the short-hafted double bit axe from Ducac. While historical examples of double-headed battle axes are few, this giant, fully functional axe more than makes up for that with its intimidating look and double the cutting power. Each axe head is hand-forged from EN45 high-carbon steel and is attached to a sturdy, rounded hardwood handle. This weapon comes in for a total of 34 inches, with a blade length of 12.4 inches and weighs 5 pounds and 3.7 ounces. See you next time! Happy Extra Long Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the German Launchgeneck Flamberge sword from Ritter Steel. This massive, fully functional sword is designed closely after weapons wielded by the Launchgeneck mercenaries, primarily one sword from a private collection. This weapon's blade is in a signature Flamberge style, made from tempered 1095 high-carbon steel, heat-treated for durability with a forged tang. We also have a leather-wrapped section between the blade and the curling wrought iron crossguards, featuring 2 more blades and a large wooden grip. This weapon has a blade length of 44.5 inches, with an overall length of just over 6 feet, or 75 inches, and weighs in for a total of 17.3 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Combat Commander Gladiator sword from United Cutlery. Taking inspiration from gladius swords of Roman times, this fully functional modern interpretation is made from razor-sharp 1060 carbon steel with a blackened finish, and a slip-resistant TPR rubberized handle, featuring a loop for attaching a lanyard and a reinforced nylon belt sheath. This weapon has a blade length of 16.6 inches, with a grip length of 4.1 inches, coming in for a total length of 24 inches and weighs in at 1.4 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Boar Spear from Cold Steel. Inspired by Renaissance-era weapons made for hunting and killing boars, this fully functional spear comes in 2 pieces with some assembly required. The first piece is a massive hardwood staff, and the second a leaf-shaped spearhead made from high-carbon SK5 steel, including a secure X sheath and screws for attaching the spearhead to the shaft. This weapon has a shaft length of 71 inches, with a spearhead length of 18.5 inches, coming in for a total length of about 6'8", or 82 inches, with an overall weight of 68 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Kvuk sword from Windlass Steelcraft Swords. The original Welsh word for King Arthur's sword, over time between hundreds of different versions of Arthurian text, it eventually became Calibur, which eventually became Excalibur. This fully functional sword takes inspiration from the iconic weapon, with a blade made from 1080 high-carbon steel, with a 2-handed ripped grip wrapped in blue leather and a matching scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 32.5 inches, with a total length of 43 inches and weighs in at 3.25 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we have the Pirate Cutlass dagger from Ducac. Cutlass swords are iconically a pirate's weapon, likely because they were sturdy enough to cut through rope and wood and required less formal training than other sword styles of the era. This fully functional pirate-inspired dagger has a blade made from EN45 high-carbon steel, with a blackened steel handguard and hilt, a leather-wrapped grip, and matching leather sheath. This weapon comes in with a blade length of 11 inches, with a total length of 16 inches, and weighs in at 23 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we've got the two-handed Maszkijowski falchion from Martial Historical. Based on the weapon in the Maszkijowski Bible of the mid-13th century of the same name, the only surviving evidence of this weapon comes from these illustrations. Unique even in its time, this fully functional polearm has a blade made from 1060 high carbon steel, with a long two-handed handle made from hardwood. This weapon has a blade length of 20.5 inches, with an overall length of 36.2 inches, and weighs in at 3.2 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we've got the Bosworth longsword from the Battle Cry series by Windlass Steelcraft Swords. Named after the Battle of Bosworth at the end of the War of the Roses, this historically inspired, fully functional sword has a sharpened blade made from 1065 high carbon steel, hand-forged and tempered to RC in the low 50s, with a stone-washed blackened finish, steel crossguards and pommel, and a leather-wrapped handle and matching sheath. This weapon comes in with a blade length of 35.5 inches, with an overall length of 47.5 inches, and weighs in for a total of 3 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we have the Viking Beard Axe from Dark Sword Armory. Inspired by Vikings, this fully functional bearded axe has a hand-forged head made from dual-hardened, blackened 5160 high-carbon steel, with a hardwood half wrapped in leather twine. While this axe is battle-ready, it's designed for combat or reenactments, not wood-cutting or other chores. This axe head has a width of 10.5 inches, with a total weapon length of 31 inches, and weighs in at 6 pounds and 5 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the medieval Bollock dagger from Ducac. More politely called kidney daggers, these were popular weapons from the 13th to 18th century in Scandinavia, Scotland, and England, where it got its name from its distinctive shape. This fully functional dagger is a recreation of a Tudor-era dagger, with a blade made from EN45 high-carbon steel, with a wooden hilt and matching leather sheath with brass accents. This weapon comes in with a blade length of 10.25 inches, with an overall length of 15.5 inches, and weighs in at 7.2 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we've got the Kris-style dagger from Cold Steel. Inspired by the ceremonial Kris daggers from Indonesia, particularly the West Javanese styles of the 17th and 18th centuries, this fully functional dagger is a fantastical take on these weapons. This dagger has a blade made from 1055 carbon steel, with a hilt made from sal hardwood with wire wrapping, bolster and fittings made from solid brass, and a hardwood scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 12.7 inches, coming in for a total length of 18.25 inches, and weighs in at 1.25 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we've got the Eindride Lone Wolf Sword from Dark Sword Armory. Named Eindride, which in Old Norse roughly means one who rides alone, this fully functional sword is inspired by Vikings, wolves, and those who walk alone, even inscribing Nordic runes for one who rides alone along its blade, which is made from differentially hardened 5160 high carbon steel, along with a handle made from stained black oak, with bronze fittings of wolf heads and a matching leather wrapped wooden sheath. This weapon has a blade length of 32 inches, with an overall length of 43 inches, and weighs in at 4 pounds and 5 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Orleans Battle Axe from the Windlass Battle Cry series. This fully functional axe is named after the Siege of Orleans, a turning point in the 100 Years' War between France and England. Special shout out to Joan of Arc. This fully functional battle axe has a head crafted from 1065 high carbon steel, tempered to an RC in the low 50s, with a sharpened blade and a stone-washed black finish. This weapon has a blade length of 7.625 inches, with an overall length of 31.25 inches, and weighs in at 3 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we've got the Fans dagger from Ducac. This fully functional dagger is inspired by both medieval and utility dagger designs. This smaller dagger is going to be better suited for utility purposes, like cutting ropes, cooking, and other daily life chores, as opposed to combat. This dagger has a blade made from EN45 high carbon steel, with a white bone hilt and a matching wood and leather scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 9.4 inches, with an overall length of 14.4 inches, and weighs in at 8.9 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we've got the Suan Taka Viking sword from Windlass Steelcraft Swords. This fully functional blade is an inspired recreation of the original Suan Taka sword, which was discovered in a woman's grave in Finland in 1968, which likely would have been buried there sometime after her death, which would have been about 1100 AD. This sword has a blade made from fully tempered 1085 high carbon steel, with an ornate hilt and pommel with copper plating and a matching leather scabbard and belt. This weapon has a blade length of 30.75 inches, with an overall length of 37 inches and weighs in at 3 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we've got the Dark Sister Sword of Daemon Targaryen from Valyrian Steel. This limited edition display replica sword, licensed by HBO's House of the Dragon, is one of 2,000 swords made in this collection, with its design inspiration from its time being wielded by Daemon Targaryen, younger brother of Viserys Targaryen and rider of the dragon Caraxes. This sword has a blade made from high-carbon Damascus steel, a leather-wrapped grip, cast metal pommel and guard, and includes its very own wooden plaque and certificate of authenticity. This weapon has a blade length of 32 inches and comes in for a total of 44 inches. See you next time. Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Black and Short English saber from Ducac. This cut and thrust style saber takes historical inspiration from other popular English sword designs from duelists post-17th century up into the 19th century. This fully functional sword has a hand-forged blade made from EN45 high-carbon steel, with an ornate swept hilt and knuckle guard made from blackened steel, and a leather-wrapped grip and matching leather sheath. This weapon has a blade length of 24.5 inches, with an overall length of 31.5 inches, and weighs in at 2 pounds, 2 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Cressy war dagger from the Windlass Battle Cry series. Likely named after the Battle of Cressy in 1346, this historically inspired, fully functional dagger has a pre-sharpened blade made from 1065 high-carbon steel, tempered to an RC in the low 50s with a blued patina finish, a leather-wrapped handle and matching sheath, and comes with its very own certificate of authenticity. This dagger has a blade length of 9.25 inches, with an overall length of 15 inches. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the M48 double-headed warhammer from United Cutlery. This modern tactical take is inspired by warhammers throughout history and different fantasy medias. This fully functional double-headed axe is made from injection molded nylon, with 2 spiked heads made from 2 CR13 stainless steel, a textured grip, and a thermoplastic rubber cover and nylon belt loop. This weapon has an overall length of 17 inches and weighs in for a total of 3.8 pounds. See you next time. Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Knight's Riding Sword from Legacy Arms. This fully functional arming sword, or short sword, is based on 2 early 14th century effigies found in Germany, with depictions of a near-identical weapon. This sword has a hand-tempered blade made from 5160 high-carbon steel, a leather-wrapped wooden hilt with matte steel detailing, and a matching leather-wrapped wooden scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 21 inches, with an overall length of 29 inches, and weighs in for a total of 2 pounds, 5 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Honshu Midnight Forge Executioner Axe from United Cutlery. Inspired by the gruesome job of chopping off heads, this fully functional twin-headed axe has blades made from 7CR13 stainless steel with a black finish, attached to a reinforced nylon handle with a textured grip, and a leather sheath to keep the blade secure. This axe is suitable for both battle-ready combat uses and standard axe uses, such as wood chopping. This weapon has an overall length of 27.2 inches and weighs in for a total of 7.05 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Ranger Dagger from Darksword Armory. A smaller dagger version of Darksword Armory's Ranger Sword, this fully functional dagger is inspired by Lord of the Rings, specifically Strider's sword. This dagger has a blade made from dual-hardened 5160 high-carbon steel, with a Rockwell hardness of 53 that comes in both sharpened and unsharpened versions, a guard and pommel of mild steel, and a wooden grip and sheath wrapped in leather. This weapon has a blade length of 12 inches with a total length of 17.5 inches and weighs in at 1 pound. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Ducac saber sword from Ducac. A type of cutlass or saber weapon, a Ducac was a popular choice for a sidearm in Germany during the 16th and 17th centuries. Inspired by these weapons, this fully functional sword has a blade made from EN45 high carbon steel, with a basket-style hilt made from blackened steel, and a wooden scabbard wrapped in green leather. This weapon has a blade length of 25.4 inches, with a total length of 32 inches and weighs in at 3 pounds and 13 ounces. See you next time! Happy Spooky Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the authentic skull flail from Ritter Steel. This gnarly weapon is not based on historical weapons, opting for some classic dark fantasy inspiration, but it is crafted using traditional medieval forging techniques. This flail has a hand-forged wrought iron chain attached to a seared wood handle and a head that's made from blackened steel. This weapon has a handle length of 24 inches, a chain length of 24 inches, with spike lengths of 2.5 inches, and comes in for a total of over 55 inches. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the hand and a half sword from the Man-at-Arms collection by Cold Steel. Like the name suggests, this sword can be used with 1 or 2 hands, a popular style of sword that's also sometimes called a bastard sword. This fully functional, historically inspired sword has a sharpened, blued blade made from 1055 high carbon steel with a hard spring temper, a leather-wrapped wooden grip, and a leather sheath with blued steel fittings. This weapon comes in with a blade length of 33.5 inches, with an overall length of 42 inches, and weighs in for a total of about 3 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the Sinbad sailor sword from Condor Knives and Tools. Named after the legendary Sinbad from Middle Eastern folktales, Sinbad finds himself thrust into a life of sailing and adventure through 7 voyages. This fully functional scimitar sword is inspired by the sailor, with a satin-finished blade made from 1075 high carbon steel, and a wooden handle with brass fittings, and a leather sheath. This weapon has a blade length of 22 inches, with an overall length of 31.8 inches. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we have the 1st century Pompeii dagger from Ducac. This fully functional dagger is inspired, designed, and named after weapons found preserved in the ash in the city of Pompeii after an eruption from Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD left the city in ruin. This dagger has a blade made from EN45 high carbon steel, with a wooden grip, and comes with a matching leather sheath. This weapon has a blade length of 8.75 inches, with an overall length of 15.25 inches, and weighs in for a total of about 1 pound 3 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we have the Anduril short sword from Dark Sword Armory. A smaller, fully functional version of the iconic sword Anduril, the Flame of the West, forged from the shards of Narsil from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, this recreation exists somewhere between a dagger and a short sword, with a blade made from 5160 high carbon steel with elvish runes inscribed on the blade, a pommel bearing the white tree of Gondor, and a leather-wrapped grip and sheath. This weapon has a blade length of 21 inches, with a total length of 29.5 inches, and weighs in for a total of about 1 pound 14 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we have the handmade Han Jian sword with stand from 10 Ryu swords. This fully functional Jian, also known as a Chinese longsword, is inspired by the Han Dynasty, which held power for almost 400 years. This sword has a hand-forged blade made from T10 high carbon steel, with a hardwood hilt wrapped in genuine ray skin and black silk, and a matching hardwood scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 27 inches, with an overall length of 41 inches, and weighs in for a total of 5.5 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we've got the de Joinville sword from Windlass Steelcraft Swords. Inspired and named after Jean de Joinville, a French knight from the 7th Crusade who, famously after losing his lance in battle, tucked his sword under his arm as he would a lance and charged into battle. This fully functional sword has a sharpened steel blade made from 1065 high carbon steel, with a wooden hilt with steel fittings, and a matching leather scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 27 inches, with an overall length of 36 inches, and weighs in for a total of about 3 pounds. See you next time. Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we have the dual goddess dagger from Ducac. This tiny but mighty fully functional dagger has a super intricate brass hilt, depicting two goddess-like figures. One side depicts one of these figures standing above two intertwining snakes, and the other depicts the second standing above a winged clamshell. This dagger has a double-edged blade made from EN45 high carbon steel and comes with a matching scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 6.8 inches, with a total length of 10.3 inches and weighs in for a total of 8.2 ounces. See you next time. Happy Festive Weapon Wednesday. On this eve, we have the 17th century Pappenheimer rapier from Ducac. Inspired by Pappenheimer rapiers, said to have been popularized by Graf Pappenheim during the 30 Years' War, these rapiers were a popular choice in Germany in the 17th century. This fully functional sword has a double-edged blade made from EN45 high-carbon steel, with a wire-wrapped grip made from mild steel, a distinct Pappenheimer-style hilt, and a matching scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 38 inches, with an overall length of 44.8 inches, and weighs in for a total of 3 pounds. See you next time! Happy last Weapon Wednesday of 2025! Today we have the competition Federschwert from Kingston Arms. A type of longsword training tool that was originally used in the Renaissance, Federschwerts of today are most used by the HEMA, or Historical European Martial Arts community. Made from 9260 spring steel with a rounded tip and a cord-wrapped wooden grip, this is a safer and more comfortable option for sparring and meets HEMA longsword standards. This weapon has a blade length of 38 inches, with an overall length of 51 inches and weighs in for a total of 3 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we have the Alexandria sword from Dark Sword Armory. This sword is a replica of a 15th century sword from the arsenal of Alexandria known as the Harriet Dean sword. This sword actually went missing in the 1940s and wasn't seen again until surfacing at an auction in 2016, but you can find its twin, the Bastford Dean sword, on display at the Met. This fully functional recreation has a blade made from 5160 high carbon steel, with a Rockwell hardness of 60, and includes the same Arabic inscription on the blade as the original. This weapon has a blade length of 33.5 inches, with an overall length of 45 inches, and weighs in for a total of 4 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today we have the Trollsbane axe from Ducac. Inspired by bearded axes, this fully functional battle axe takes it to the extreme, exaggerating the curve to an almost fantastical point and creates an almost guard for your hand if you're holding it close to the head. This axe's head is made from EN45 high carbon steel with a haft made from hardwood. This weapon has a head length of 13 inches with an overall length of 43 inches and weighs in at 3 pounds 10 ounces. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we have the Vindaris sword from Dark Sword Armory. This fully functional fantasy sword has 2 key points of inspiration: Norse mythology of the Yolsifar, or light elves from Alfheim, and of course, the works of Tolkien, primarily the Silmarillion. This sword has a blade made from 5160 high carbon steel, engraved with the words honor, loyalty, disgrace, and vengeance in Beleriand, with a dark green wrapped leather hilt and matching engraved scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 36 inches, with an overall length of 50 inches, and weighs in for a total of 4.75 pounds. See you next time! Happy Weapon Wednesday! Today, we have the runic long sea axe from Windlass. With clear nods and inspiration to Norse weaponry, this sea axe takes its blade inspiration from one specific weapon, the sea axe of Bayonoff, with the same runic inscription of the alphabet on its blade as the original weapon, which is currently on display in the British Museum. This fully functional sea axe has a blade made from 1065 high carbon steel, with a wooden handle wrapped in leather and a matching leather scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 23 inches, with an overall length of 29.25 inches, and weighs in for a total of 2 pounds. See you next time. Regularly scheduled program. Today, we have the Kris-style dagger from Cold Steel. This fully functional dagger is inspired by the popular sword style of the Kris-style in the 17th and 18th century in France. This dagger has a blade made from 1060 high carbon steel, with a wire-wrapped grip and a matching scabbard. This weapon has a blade length of 11.75 inches, with an overall length of around 18 inches, and weighs in for a total of 11.5 ounces. See you next time! Happy lovely Weapon Wednesday! Today we have the Weeping Heart Hawk from Cold Steel. This fully functional tomahawk has more of a unique flair, with a heart cut out in the middle of the head and engraved filigree on the blade. This axe comes partially sharpened, with its blade made from 1055 high carbon steel attached to an American hickory haft. This weapon has a blade length of 10 inches, with a cutting edge of 3.5 inches, an overall length of 22 inches, and weighs in for a total of 1.6 pounds. See you next time!